I can guarantee you've never seen one of these before, but then hardly anybody has. This is a Livens flame projector, one of the most terrifying and bizarre weapons of the First World War. We're excavating the British front line as it was on the eve of the Battle of the Somme in 1916. And what's more, we think one of these may be down there. A team of experts has gathered in northern France for a special expedition.
I can see a bit of metal. Oh, wow!
They've come to find a secret tunnel used in the bloodiest battle of World War I.
Maybe there is something in the belly of the beast.
Recover a forgotten weapon of terror trapped inside it.
Voila. That's it, that's it.
And with the help of the British Royal Engineers...
Good to go when you are.
...rebuild it.
It was designed to instill the most horrific terror.
Good grief. That's burning my face.
Historian Peter Barton has come to northern France to lead a special excavation.
Peter.
Gentlemen, how are you?
Peter. Doing well.
He's joined by archaeologists Tony Pollard and Ian Banks.
So we've got a real job of detective work on our hands then to
We're
nail
relying
that.
They've got just 15 days to locate and excavate a top-secret tunnel hidden somewhere in this field. Finding these tunnels will be a real challenge, but if we succeed, it'll throw a whole new light on one of the most famous battles in our history. Mamay is a small farming village 150 kilometres north of Paris. Nearly a century ago, this sleepy community found itself at the centre of World War I. In 1914, the German army is stopped just north of here as it races towards Paris. The armies dig in, and the infamous trenches of the Western Front are born. After 2 years of bitter fighting, on July the 1st, 1916, the Allies launch a massive attack that ran right through this field. The goal? Shatter the German line and finally end the war. It would be known as the Battle of the Somme. Along much of this 25-kilometre front, the attack is a catastrophic failure. The German line holds, and in just 24 hours, 60,000 men are killed or wounded.
Some of those men never even saw the enemy at all. Many of them never got over their own parapet. They were cut down as they came up out of the trenches.
But in this field near Mamay, something very different happened. Here, the Allies took the German line. Peter's recently discovered a top-secret Allied plan that may help explain this success. He's learnt that in the weeks before the attack, the Allies dug dozens of tunnels that led right to the German lines. Let's be frank, there must be 10,000 books written about the Somme. Is there anything new that we can learn here?
Well, we're telling a story which has never been told before. We're looking for what are called saps. And what they were was shallow tunnels going from your position, underneath no man's land, to the enemy position.
Peter's now come to find one that runs beneath this very field. Called Sap 14, it stretched from the British front line to the very edge of the German trenches. It contained explosives that could shatter German defences. A secret hatch that delivered troops straight into the enemy line, and the largest flamethrower used in the war, a 2-ton, 60-foot monster. If this is so secret, how do you know about it?
It's only my interest in this engineering side, which is what people don't concentrate on, that I came across this. It's there in the war diaries.
Peter discovered this scheme while reading the Royal Engineers' war diaries, records of their actions during the fighting. To learn more about these saps, Peter hopes to find and explore the one in this field.
We need to get into these things to see what evidence we can find inside. You know, if they do really go across no man's land, do we know whether these plans are complete or not? So the only way we can do that is an archaeological excavation.
To get in, Peter's put together a team of bomb disposal specialists, archaeologists and Royal Engineers.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to say how good it is to have so many people with a great expertise involved in this project.
Gary Andrews reminds them of the dangers of digging here.
There is always the potential for munitions of some description. There's a high probability of finding these things.
Thousands of World War I munitions remain hidden in these fields.
Such a variety.
Many are still live and could explode if disturbed.
Just getting worried that this is going to turn into an exercise in bomb disposal rather than archaeology.
Every year, the French bomb squad removes tons of shells from this region.
Wouldn't have a clue.
Over 600 of them have been killed in the line of duty.
Sobering.
Radar, so I think
But shells aren't the only challenge this team's facing.
it'll be challenging.
After the fighting stopped, the trenches were backfilled by farmers. And after almost a century, few traces of the war are still visible. But they've got one strong lead, a map made by the men who built this tunnel.
You have here British front line in black coming through, German front line in blue, and all this area here is within this bare field behind us.
In 1916, the German front line snaked through this very field. The Allies were dug in 120 metres south, and just behind their front line, the two entrances to our sap.
And this is it here. You've got the sap in the orange and the pink. There we are, shallow sap, two entrances, down to a small chamber, and then it heads out, crosses under the British trench into no man's land. If you can find the trenches, then we should be able to find the entrances.
And how are we going to do that, Dr. Banks?
Well, I would have thought geophysics would be the answer here.
I thought you might say that.
Yes.
With the help of some high-tech gear, the team hopes to get a glimpse of what's happening beneath their feet. Backtech, world leaders in finding and removing landmines, have come on board to help. Their state-of-the-art equipment should pick up traces of the trenches and sap.
You seemed pretty confident that we'd be able to pick up some good geophys. How's it gone?
We've geophysicked this area here. One of the really intriguing things, and it's actually surprised me, is we've got the sap running through behind the British Frontline Trench towards the German trenches. We don't know what depth it is, but I think we're picking it up on the geophysics. Can you see this line coming through?
Oh, yeah, so you think that that is
exactly.
That, yeah.
And the interesting thing is that we've got this angle. You see that? The front line here appears to be angled.
Yeah.
And we have an angle on the front line. It's not as acute on this.
It's just tiny, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's it. So there does appear to be a correlation between our mapping and all of our geophysics, which I'm very pleased with.
Now they'll open up a large section of the field and search for key stretches of trench.
We bring in a machine, we take down maybe the top 20 or 30 centimetres. There should be a difference in the type of soil, in the colour of soil and the surrounding subsoil, but if we can't see that, we're in real trouble.
With the first layer of soil removed, there's no sign of the British trenches.
Trench.
The team's caught a break.
Fantastic.
Running off.
Farmers backfilled this trench with chalk, a white rock common throughout the region.
If they're all like this, if they're all stuffed full of chalk,
Yeah, should be easy to find. You should do this for a living.
it's like a neon sign. I'm trying. Wow.
They've definitely found a World War I trench. But to see if it leads to our sap, they'll have to open up more of this field. As more of the topsoil's removed, the team starts to find remnants of the war.
Lucky us.
We've got a clip of bullets from 303, but that's just come out of somebody's ammunition pouch. but 2 of them are still joined together by the charger. Quite a find.
This trench feels like it's got a million different stories to tell, and we're only on the surface. But what I'm enjoying so much are all the little finds that are coming up.
Cheeseborough, New York, Vaseline. Wow. It's been fairly heavily used.
It has, isn't it? That's nice.
During the war, Vaseline was used to maintain weapons and to treat cuts and scrapes. And you can actually see the Vaseline in it. And if you look closely, there are actually fingerprints in there from the guys who've applied the Vaseline. But this one over here is quite incredible.
What we've got is a rum jar. On the side of it, we've got the letters SRD, which stands for Service Ration Depot. A lot of the times the soldiers would say that it was seldom reaches destination. It would have been full of rum and was a wee bit of comfort to the guys in the cold in the trenches.
There's another bullet there and a great lot of them here. But my favourite find of all so far is this. It's a coin, and it appears as though it's been hit by a bullet.
Now, it seems hard to believe, but that may have been a coin that was in somebody's pocket. Yeah. Now, I wonder if that helped to deflect a bullet, for good or bad.
Gotta say, it doesn't look good.
This is pretty astounding, actually.
Yeah.
With the hunt for the trenches off to a great start, Peter kicks off the search for one of the most secret and terrifying weapons of the First World War.
I think that's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch on mobile devices or the big screen. All for free. No subscription required.
Peter, let's be optimistic for a moment. Let us suppose that they get inside, they're in SAP 14. As you step forward, like the archaeologists when they first saw the tomb of Tutankhamun, they found golden chariots. What are we going to find?
I would like to find the most unusual weapon in the war. It's a weapon of terror. The best thing to do is show you an image of it.
Whoa! It looks absolutely lethal.
It's called a Livens large gallery flame projector.
Wow.
It is 56 feet long, it's 14 inches wide, it had a 7-man crew, and it weighed 2.5 tons.
This looks incredibly vulnerable. It looks like any shell would be able to blow all this up straight away.
That's a very good observation, because this, believe it or not, was used from a tunnel. And that's precisely why we're here.
So how might that work?
Well, you build it inside your tunnel. When you pressurize the machine, the firing head, which was called the monitor, pushes itself through the surface like a dragon and starts firing automatically. And it fires a jet of burning oil 100 metres long.
100 metres? Why do you think there's one here?
Well, the war diaries tell us that in this sector, they were going to deploy one of these machines from a tunnel in no man's land here.
The diaries say that in the early hours of June the 28th, 1916, 200 soldiers hauled the pieces of the projector into the sap. But before it could be assembled, a shell struck, burying the parts in the tunnel beyond recall. If his theory is correct, the projector is trapped somewhere within this sap.
If we can find the parts of this, if they are still there in SAP 14, that is my Tutankhamun moment.
But Peter's quest to get underground and recover the projector has just hit its first roadblock.
You've got shapes here, this shape coming through here.
That's definitely Phil. That's possibly the edge of it.
What is that? We've had no indication of this thing continuing on.
But it's here, somewhere.
Despite a great start, they're having real trouble finding the trenches that led to our sap.
It's a disappointment.
A short setback. Let's get it the right way around.
That one's okay, that's kosher. That one's the funny one.
I would love to see something and go, aha, I know where I am now.
Not all the trenches were backfilled with chalk, and the team's finding it very difficult to pick them out of the clay.
I don't think it's this one, but...
Lovely.
Bloody hell. I think at the moment we're floating. We're floating because we don't have these reference points. We've got sections of trench that we think we know where they lie on the map, but until we see what their association with with the frontline trench is, we're really making assumptions.
With just 11 days of digging left and no sign of the sap, Peter's dream of finding the flame projector is in real jeopardy. Four days into the excavation, and the team's struggling to find their way.
Once it starts getting a bit...
As the hunt to find the sap and flamethrower continues, I check in with a frustrated Tony.
Tony, this trench is the size of St Paul's Cathedral.
And getting bigger, yeah. The thing is, we tried before doing keyhole trenches, and you just can't tell what's happening.
Yeah.
You've got trenches going all over the place. You need to be able to see an expanse of this area.
Tony decides their best hope of getting their bearings is to expand the dig site and hunt for the Frontline Trench. It's an anxious time for the team. They must face the fact that they're lost, or even worse, that the map is wrong.
Oh, Tony.
Finally, they spot something beneath the topsoil.
That's more like it.
Fantastic.
You see this colour change?
Oh, yeah.
Really
Very
nice
clear.
and straight, all the way along into the baulk there. And this looks like it's the back of the Frontline Trench.
With the discovery of the front line, the dig's back on track. Now they must find the trench that leads to our sap. But the team has another reason to celebrate. The hunt for the sap has uncovered something unseen for almost a century.
That's Frontline sandbags. That's fantastic. Just astonishing.
It's quite nice the way that they actually survive in the ground. You just peel away the clay off the top, and it leaves that, and that's been sitting there for 90 years.
What we've got to realise here, that these are 1st of July sandbags. These are the trenches which those men climbed out on the 1st of July.
That's quite moving, isn't it, really?
It is, yeah.
Good thing you got the I Spy sandbag book.
Yeah, it's a very good thing. I live by that. I have one under my pillow.
As the team continues to get their bearings, I go with Peter to learn why a sap would be so important on a World War I battlefield.
So the whistle's gone, we've gone over the top. We're on our way through no man's land. We're heading towards the German lines over there. What's happening?
Well, you've gone through your own barbed wire entanglements. Now you've got to make a line, form a line so you arrive there all at the same time. We are now in the killing zone, and they want to kill us. So now you are faced with machine guns firing 450 rounds a minute. You're faced with snipers, you're faced with infantry with small arms. So you're in the teeth of the gale, if you like, and you're being shelled with shrapnel.
For 2 long years, these tactics were used in battle after battle. Thousands of Allied troops were cut down trying to cross the killing fields of no man's land.
You can really understand, can't you, why people would have wanted there to be tunnels underneath no man's land, why they would have wanted not only their infantry to be protected in that way, but to get up some more armaments to protect those who were walking in this dreadful, slow way.
That's absolutely right. The sole purpose of these weapons, which were put in places the Germans were not expecting, in the tunnels, the mortars, the machine guns, the flamethrowers, the mines, that was solely to help those infantrymen get across no man's land with the minimal number of casualties.
Back at the dig site, the teams made another breakthrough.
Thankfully, after we've pushed back across the Frontline Trench, I can now happily say I know exactly where I am, and I'm standing just on that corner there. This is the Frontline Trench. Running off this portion of the front line is this trench running through here. It runs through in a series of angles, and if I walk in this direction, I'm walking down to this angle, turn this slight bend, down here, and then the angle changes again, and that brings me to here, where this piece of wood is, and that may well mark the entrance into the sap.
The team's convinced they've found a trench that leads to our sap. Their quest to get underground and find the flame projector just took a major step forward. They believe the trench leads to an incline, a staircase carved from the side of the trench down to the sap. From the war diaries, they know there are two, the Western and the Eastern Incline. As the hunt to get underground begins, I check back in with Tony.
If you look on the trench map here, this is the eastern entrance to the incline.
So this is it?
This is it. This is it.
So this is really the significant part of the whole of the dig?
It is. That's the good news.
Yeah.
The bad news is that we know from the war diaries that this was blown up by a German shell in July 1916.
So it's completely wrecked and we can't get in? That's what you're going to tell me, isn't it?
Yeah. You can see we've got structural timbers here that are damaged, and all along I've been hoping that if this is gone, which the war diary suggested, the opposite entrance, the western entrance, will be well preserved, and so we've still got fingers crossed on that.
From the war diaries, they know that the two entrances are 32 metres apart. With the Eastern Incline found, the hunt for its western counterpart can begin. They hope that following the war, the Western Incline was simply blocked when the farmers filled in the trenches. If they can clear it out, they might get in. Taken on the Somme in 1916, Peter believes this rare photo may show the very entrance we're hunting. This doorway and the sap it led to were made by an elite group of Royal Engineers, the tunnellers. Drawn from Britain, Canada and Australia, these men conducted a secret war far beneath the battlefield. While much of their work was shrouded in secrecy, Peter's learned that our sap was driven by the 183 Tunnelling Company. Sent to the Somme in October 1915, they had orders to stop German tunnellers from reaching Allied front lines.
You fight him underground with controlled explosions. You try to either obliterate him or entomb him in his tunnel by blowing the tunnel in with an explosion you plant underground. So that was the kind of war that was going on, and it was the real hotspot here.
After almost 5 months of bitter fighting, the 183 are given a new assignment. Drive a sap to the edge of the German lines. At the western edge of the site, the team thinks it's finally found evidence of their work.
What is it you think you've got, Tone?
I think it's the western entrance to the incline.
Ah, the eastern one there was closed off, but this is the one that could be open?
Exactly, and as you can see, the structure to it, there are frames, there's this corrugated iron, which may have been the roof.
So what are you going to do?
We've got to go down here, see what that is, see whether it is the right kind of timber to go across, and then see whether we can get in there.
I don't want to jump too far ahead, but if you can get in here, you could access some really interesting stuff, couldn't you?
If we could get into there, it would be an opportunity of a lifetime, literally. There's a lot of nerve-wracking between now and then.
While Tony and Ian get cracking on getting into the sap, Peter starts to excavate the Eastern Incline. It may not get them underground, but it could be the key to finding something else.
183 Tunnelling Company War Diary says that at 6 a.m. on the 28th of June 1916, a shell fell on the tunnel in which the flame projector was stored.
Peter thinks this shell entombed the machine in the incline and that it's down there still. Although it never got there, it was supposed to be fired from this specially carved spur of the sap.
That's it, so you need...
He's taped it out in no man's land to show us where it would have been fired.
Yep. So we can see how far we are from the British line. It's pretty well where the fence was. So they've driven that in a few months, and that's where it came up. So what you've got here is, about 60 metres to the German line. So when it's pressurised, up it comes, pushes through the earth, pushes through the roots to about that height, turns towards the target, and then starts firing its jet of burning oil.
The projector held enough fuel for 3 10-second blasts. In just half a minute, it could burn through over 1,300 litres, enough to power most cars for half a year today. It generated a terrifying wall of flame that could incinerate almost 100 metres of trench.
Not all of it had burned by the time it reached the trenches, so it landed in the trenches and continued to burn. So you pretty well neutralised that section of line.
As day 6 comes to an end, I check in with the team at the western entrance. Here is where I thought the entrance of SAB 14 was going to be, which everyone was so excited about yesterday that they were going to excavate first thing this morning, and it's 5:20 and there's no work done on this at all. What's going on?
There is. We've been hard at work on it. The problem is it's not the entrance to SAB 14.
Oh, you're kidding.
I wish I was. The problem is that this looks like it's just stuff thrown into the top of the fill of a trench.
So if the entrance isn't here, where is it?
It's somewhere in this area. It's around here close, but this just is not it here.
At the moment, it's a bit of an archaeological mess, isn't it?
Yeah, I prefer the term puzzle, thank you, Tony.
An archaeological puzzle. Not a mess. It's a puzzle. It's a mess, really.
While finding our sap has proved more difficult than we'd hoped, the finds are giving us a unique look at the life of a First World War soldier. 3 of my most favourites. There's this glass bottle made in Glasgow for Baird's pickle, although I've no idea what Baird's pickle tasted like. There's this toothbrush.
What we found is a toothbrush.
Colour's still on that, marvellous.
So bright orange, isn't it?
Not very much brush, but look at that patterning on the back of it. Isn't that absolutely lovely?
There might be some markings on there.
L-O-N, London.
London. That's tremendous. Well found, Jim.
And the creme de la creme, this blue enamel water bottle. I just think that is exquisite. The finds are piling up, and they're painting a picture of the evolution of these trenches.
French Lebel cartridge case, which indicates the people who occupied these trenches before the British arrived.
This is a French bayonet, and this was found in the bottom of an old French trench, along with several French knapsacks. So that's quite nice, but a very nasty weapon.
The British took control of this sector in 1915, but the French army dug many of these trenches the previous year. In 1914, they made a bloody stand in these very fields. Thousands were cut down trying to push the Germans out of France. The team think they found grim evidence of this fight. It's one discovery they hoped they wouldn't make.
Got a body. There's just a bit of pelvis.
Yeah. Material.
These are the bone. Yeah. It's fabric from clothing. I suspect it's trousers.
Yeah, just...
As soon as you make direct contact with human remains, your sensitivities change completely. My heart is now racing, shivering, shaking, and it's just that total shock of impact.
With the authorities informed, Tony begins the painstaking process of carefully exhuming the body.
This is a soldier who lost his life, and we shall record in every due respect.
But as work continues, he makes another discovery.
We've now got 2 bodies. This chap here, he's been wrapped in his coat, but the buttons on his coat are different from the one that you've got, which is the standard grenade design.
Yeah, that's a grenade on. That's the regular arm.
Yeah, exactly. These are anchors and chains.
Ah, right, yeah.
And that means something very different. These are colonial troops. This chap is out of France. He may have been French Foreign Legion, he may be Marines or even Senegalese. So this could have been a black soldier. Yep. So we have French regular army here, we have colonial, possibly black Senegalese here.
We do know that in this sector in 1914, early 15, before the British came, that there were colonial troops here. Yeah, Senegalese could have been here. French Foreign Legion was certainly here. Here we've got another single flash of a moment in time during that war.
And while they'll never know who these men were, at least they'll finally be given a proper burial. 2 of the missing have been found. With the soldiers safely removed, the team resumes the hunt for the sap and flamethrower. They're looking for the Western Incline, the staircase that leads to our sap. With the clock ticking, they decide to bring in some extra muscle. Instead of hunting for traces on the surface, they plan to dig down and find it underground.
My blood's up now, PB.
Mine.
The game is afoot.
In 1916, the men who dug this incline had to do it the hard way. Every centimetre was hacked out and hauled to the surface by hand.
These people were used to digging. That's what they did for a living. They came from mining backgrounds, you know, they came from coal mines, quarries, that kind of thing. So they had the skill in their hands and their heads before they actually arrived here.
As they went down, they used heavy timber and corrugated tin to keep the structure from collapsing. Back at the Western Incline, the teams found metal.
Big fuse.
But it's definitely not the work of the 183. Artillery shells were the ultimate killer of the First World War. It's estimated they caused roughly 2/3 of all casualties. After a century in the ground, this one's still lethal.
What do you reckon it is, Gary? Is it gas?
No, we first thought it may have been gas, but now we've found out that it's HE, high explosive.
Right.
It's quite a big shell.
If this is HE, the size of that thing, if that goes off, it's going to take out the entire site anyway.
Yes. With that in position as it is now, nothing else can work on this particular site at the moment.
With the dig shut down until the shell can be safely removed, I go with Peter to explore the old German front line. After almost 9 decades, the trenches are still visible.
It really is quite extraordinary. All the time that we've been here, we've been working, about 200 metres from here, and yet this is the first time that I've been here to the German trenches. Why is this trench system so wiggly?
Well, that's to stop blast going straight down the trench. If it was straight and a shell landed in it, the blast would go straight down and kill everybody. If a shell lands over there, the blast won't come around a corner. But the key defence here is beneath your feet. They're called dugouts. And about 20 feet down, you would find chambers in which 12 or 15 men would live with their weapons, and that's the key. They live deep underground with their weapons.
But how did they survive? We're lobbing shells night after night, thousands of them. Why didn't they all just die here?
They were deep underground. Our shells were bursting on the surface. This place was literally erupting with explosions. But the Germans underground were perfectly safe.
And when the shelling had stopped?
They bring up their machine guns, they put it in the ruins of their trenches, and they cut down the British troops like corn.
This scene was played out with sickening regularity during the first 2 years of the war. These dugouts were impervious to Allied shells, but they had an Achilles heel, attack from below. The 183 wanted to exploit this weakness. By mid-May, they were halfway to their goal, but the most dangerous part of the plan was still to come. Reach the German line and place a large charge of explosives beneath their dugouts. Back at the Western Incline, the hunt for some sign of the 183's work continues. With the shells safely removed by the French bomb squad, we've got the green light to resume working. After digging a very large hole, the team's luck seems to have finally changed. They've found clear evidence of the incline.
Nails.
Good. It's definitely stepping down, so the signs are good, but more digging to be done, I'm afraid.
Peter now hopes that the structure should be just beneath their feet.
4.6 metres.
This is very bit concerning, this. Gone.
That's the bottom.
Yeah. And they've taken the timber out of the incline. That presents big problems. Very big problems. Yeah, the timber in the incline has been salvaged.
Peter believes the timber was stripped by the tunnellers and reused elsewhere on the front. Without the support, the tunnel couldn't bear the weight of the clay, and over time it caved in.
Timber from at least this gallery here has been salvaged. And the worry is that they may have salvaged the timber along the whole system.
With over a third of the dig completed and still no sign of the inclines, their dream of finding the largest flamethrower ever used in battle may be over. With just 7 days of digging left, the team's starting to feel the pressure. But while getting underground is proving more difficult than we'd hoped, at the Eastern Incline, the hunt for the flamethrowers heating up.
I'm sure I've seen this before.
Yeah, let's have a look. Steady, Commander. Voila.
That's it, that's it.
There we are.
They've dropped the toolkit.
Part number 323. The Livens cramp spanner.
Wow, this is exciting.
The team's made a major find, the toolkit used to assemble the flame projector.
Wait a minute. Here they are, Tony, look.
Yeah.
All laid out along the ground.
Dozens of them.
These tools would have been used by a 7-man crew to assemble the parts of the projector once they'd been hauled into the sap. But that's not all they found.
Yeah, there's clamps here.
That's what?
Clamps.
Oh, it's the clamps.
To make sure that it could be quickly moved into a cramped tunnel, the machine was made up of hundreds of parts. Once underground, these sections were then attached with clamps.
Number 31. That's a monitor clamp with screw.
I'm stunned.
Peter believes this clamp was used to hold the firing head in place. Finally, they found concrete proof that the projector was left in the sap.
Champagne's on you tonight.
I'm happy to buy it.
Super.
Wow.
With this find, the team's convinced that more of the projector could be hidden just beneath their feet.
Lovely.
As the hunt for more of the projector continues, I head off in search of Tony and Ian.
Yeah. Whoa, hang on a minute. Have you seen how far away you are from the dig? Are you striking out on your own, you two?
We're just having a little peace and quiet. No, we're discussing a potential, to be frank, plan B.
Why do we need a plan B?
We're having trouble with the inclines up there, gaining access into the sap.
Mm-hmm.
We thought we might be able to get in further down.
So you've come out here into no man's land?
Well, we've got on the geophysics what looks like the sap coming down the hill. Ian's got it on this plot here.
What does that show you?
Well, what we're seeing is a line here of anomalies, and what we believe is that because there's nothing else showing out here, that this must be the sap.
So what exactly do you want to do?
I'm hoping that these metal anomalies are possibly the corrugated iron roof and basically break through the roof.
Is it fair to say that this is a bit of a policy of desperation?
Why do you think we're not talking to anybody else about this?
Yes, we're way down here and they're all up there and they don't know we're here.
The team's now going to bring the digger to the bottom of the hill to see if they can crack into the sap from above. As the hunt for the sap gets underway, I meet with Peter to learn more about these secret tunnels.
Was there only one of these saps, or a lot?
No, it's an entire scheme of them, all the way up the battlefront, south to north. 48 different schemes.
Through the war diaries, Peter's put together a picture of Allied tunnelling plans. Starting in February 1916, dozens of saps were driven along this 25-kilometre front. In the north, most were used to relay messages. But in the south, they were flagged for far deadlier purposes.
Down here in the south, they used them with imagination and ingenuity. In the north, they were simply used for communication. That's how they planned it.
These southern saps contained explosives designed to shatter German dugouts, secret hatches that open near enemy lines, and in some cases, massive flamethrowers.
Do you think it was because the commanders in the north just didn't buy into the idea in the same way that they did in the south?
That seems to have been the case, yeah. Down here, the commanders seem to approach the problem of crossing no man's land with ingenuity and application.
Peter believes this scheme was largely the work of one man, Royal Engineer Horace Hickling.
No doubt about it, he was the great tunneler of the First World War because of his vision. If things happen where you don't expect them to, then you're in trouble straight away. And that's what they wanted to achieve here. That's what Hickling was aiming for, to surprise the Germans, to shock them.
When fighting broke out, Hickling was already a skilled mining engineer. Within months, he found himself at the forefront of a new and terrifying type of war.
He was known as the live spark. He was constantly on the offensive. And he made such an impression on his commanding officer that he was very quickly promoted, and he was given command of his own company here, 183 Tunnelling Company.
In the spring of 1916, Hickling's unit began to dig saps running through the southern sector of the front. The work was difficult, and they were not alone underground. From dozens of tunnels, the Germans hunted the men of 183.
The perils of underground fighting are multiple. You can be entombed. The enemy can blow your tunnel in, and you're stuck in this tiny tunnel. And you'll just run out of air and you'll suffocate. Or you can be totally obliterated, wiped off the face of the earth.
But despite these challenges, by mid-June, they'd managed to dig over 100 metres of tunnel. The German line was almost in reach. As they progressed, they supported the tunnel with timber walls and corrugated tin roofs. 50 yards into no man's land, the team continues to hunt for traces of this work.
Yeah, see, on the top.
Hear wood. Can you hear the wood? Listen.
Yeah.
Listen, 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 listen. There it is. And there is the roof of the gallery, I hope.
Look at that.
That was the roof of the gallery.
For a split second, a fleeting moment.
When you...
It's all right, it's okay.
Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear.
They've found the sap, but to safely continue the hunt, they'll need to expand this hole.
The biggest problem we have is these dreadful collapses, and it's because the clay down here is much sandier, so it shears off much more easily, which makes it very dangerous indeed.
With the help of another digger with a longer reach, the hunt continues. But as the hole gets deeper and wider, spirits start to sink.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that...
After 2 days, they've uncovered deposits of chalk, but there's no sign of the sap.
We had it yesterday, just over there. We all saw that timber down at the bottom at about 20 feet. This is even deeper, and there's nothing to see apart from complicated geology. Yeah. And it looks highly likely from what we saw over there and from what we've got up there that it's collapsed anyway.
Yeah.
It's another setback for the team's quest to get underground. But once again, a discovery at the Eastern Incline may have saved the day. What you got, Tony?
Well, I thought it was just a bit of a pump as it came out. This is the entrance that was blown in, and we started out just some rusty metal, but look at this beautiful metal. Perfect. It's huge.
You know what strikes me? That metal is unlike anything else that we've seen on this dig.
So I think we need to get Peter in and find out exactly what this is before we go any further.
After days of digging, we may have finally found a secret weapon lost for almost a century. As Tony continues to uncover our piece of mystery metal, I've gone to find Peter.
Oh, Pete, look at this thing. Unbelievable. I think it's all one piece, but...
It's flame projector.
Is it?
Is it?
There's no doubt that that's flame projector, yeah.
Why do you say that so quickly?
I've never seen anything else like it, and I can almost recognise it from... I can see where it goes on the machine.
You're kidding me.
This is incredibly promising.
Do we know of any others of these that are still in existence?
I don't know of any part in any museum anywhere on Earth.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Pete, I must shake your hand. I never thought, when you brought me on this project, I thought we were onto a wild goose chase, but this is unbelievable.
Peter believes he's found a key part of the machine, but to help him identify it, he brings in Royal Engineer Steve Boylan.
Steve, come and have a look at this.
Pete, how you doing?
Give me your professional opinion.
Like the engineers who first built this machine, Steve's an expert in handling dangerous liquids.
Well, straight away, unlike some of the other finds, we can tell this is a lot better quality metal. This is almost gunmetal with high qualities of nickel and chromium as well. But also, you can tell it's been professionally engineered and manufactured. I think we're quite lucky to find such a distinctive piece, first of all.
I originally thought this was one piece, but it's two, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's separate.
I think that is a standard gate valve behind it.
There it is. This one is part 280, which is this one. Yeah, that's looking at it from this angle. And then this one, which is 271.
And that would be the last valve before the actual monitor.
That's fantastic.
Great.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks
Okay,
very
no
much.
problem.
According to Steve Boylan, this valve was the trigger. Once opened, hundreds of litres of oil would race forward, causing the machine to rise up and punch through the soil. There was nothing like it on the Western Front.
OK, pull it this way.
Oh, God, this is heavy. OK, I've got it.
You got that?
The teams found a key piece of this terrifying weapon.
If luck is with us, the rest of it will be further down that incline, under our feet.
In the final hour,
We've got a lot of work to do.
the team races against the clock to find the tunnels,
Stop!
recover the flame projector,
That's it, that's it.
and kickstart the second part of this incredible project.
It would be great to be able to see this thing actually firing.
With the help of the Royal Engineers, they'll try to rebuild the most terrifying weapon of the First World War.
There we go.
Wow!